Hari Om Tat Sat. Om Stapakaya cha dharmasya Sarvadharma Swarupine Stapakaya cha dharmasya Sarvadharma Swarupine Avatara Varishtaya Ramakrishna Te Namah Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Mritangamaya Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Let us bow down to Sri Ramakrishna, the embodiment of all religions, the Supreme God Incarnate. Let us pray to Him to lead us from the unreal to the real, to lead us from the darkness of ignorance to the light of knowledge, to lead us from death to immortality. We have been studying some of the spiritual instructions given by Sri Ramakrishna in the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. In the last class, I was discussing about how to get into real freedom. In real freedom, there is real joy. But how to get into that real freedom? That needs to be understood. As long as this mind and intellect are engaged in the world, you will not be able to experience the real freedom. That means you will not be experiencing real happiness. So the real happiness is to be achieved by turning the mind and the intellect towards the divine, towards the reality. Because the mind and intellect are turned outside, we are being constantly deluded and getting lost. That's why Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Mayyarpita mano buddhihi. Offer your mind and intellect to me and be free. It's really remarkably simple. But then it is very difficult because we are not prepared to surrender our mind and intellect. On the other hand, we are not prepared to turn our mind and intellect totally towards God. So, we are always in some kind of miseries. So always mind will be in a state of restlessness. It finds out some reason to be restless. So, even though God is very near, yet you are not able to experience the real joy because the mind and intellect are being covered by the mud of desires and all sorts of impressions have made a thick coating. So the immediate task should be how to cleanse the mind, how to cleanse the intellect. Cleaning is very important. So in order to achieve the goal, purification of the heart is a must. Without the purification of the heart, you will not be able to experience the real joy or the real freedom. So, that is why Narada Maharshi, who was the spiritual preceptor of Prahlad, a great devotee of Lord, he says, he pinpoints the essential nature of offering yourself totally. What we call Sharanagati. It's also called Prapatti. So you must fully surrender to God. So he pinpoints it, he defines it. Tadarpita khilachara tad vismarane parma vyakulatacha. That is the consecration of all activities unto him and extreme agony when he happens to be forgotten. When you are not focusing on God, for some reason, for whatever reason, if you are not inclined towards the divine, you will suffer very much. And is it ever possible to be like that? That is totally absorbing in God? And there is an illustration. The gopis of Vrindavan, they are the example of total surrender. Their whole being was in Lord Krishna. They had tremendous love towards him, and it was so much that they would feel they had no existence of their own apart from his. As Sri Ramakrishna would say, what is inside me? It is Divine Mother herself. And Sri Ramakrishna meant by what he said, his whole being was just absorbed in Divine Mother. In the same way, all these gopis, their whole mind and intellect were just at the feet of Lord Krishna. They would think nothing other than that. So they would always feel tremendous joy because they could see Lord Krishna in their hearts all the time. So, even when the gopis were physically separated from Lord Krishna, because Lord Krishna had to go to Dwaraka, even then The gopis expressed their anguish by talking of him, by singing about him, and reenacting his ineffable sports. Uddhava was considered a great devotee of Lord Krishna. He was stunned by the totality of the dedication of these shepherd ladies to their beloved Krishna. And Uddhava says he wished he might be born as a blade of grass in the hallowed Vrindavan, so that he might be sanctified by the dust of the feet of these matchless lovers of the divine. And Sri Ramakrishna has demonstrated in his life by practicing Madhura Bhava. And he describes what it implies. This graphic description of Sri Ramakrishna's ecstasy and agony as he relived the passion of Radha, as he relived the passion of Radha for Sri Krishna. Even in the non-ecstatic state, Sri Ramakrishna's self-surrender was unqualified. Sri Ramakrishna would say, "What do I know? The mother tells me everything." So whatever comes out of the mouth of Sri Ramakrishna is coming from Divine Mother herself. That is the total dedication to Mother. So he doesn't feel his ego exists. It's all Mother that is existing. It is Mother breathing. It is Mother doing all the activities. It was the literal truth. His mind and intellect had been emptied completely to be filled to the brim by the Mother's grace. Whereas our minds are filled up with all sorts of things. There is no place for any spiritual idea in our mind and intellect. So all the time we will be in some kind of stress and strain because of that. So you must empty the mind, remove all the things, cleaning up, vacuum it clearly, thoroughly. If necessary, vacuum at least dozen times. Clear off the mind from all other thoughts. Then put in the spiritual ideas there. Don't allow the dust to form again. Be careful about not allowing the mind to be unclean. So you have to take certain steps in order to see that spiritual ideas dominate your mind. That's why we always say, repeat God's name. Repeat God's name all the time. That is the sadhana. That itself is sadhana. Don't question about whether mechanical or non-mechanical. All these questions come just to divert your mind. Never give attention to those things. Even if it is mechanical, let it be mechanical. My Guru has said, I just follow it up. See, even mechanically I walk towards the lake, I reach the lake. Even though I don't have the knowledge, still some people said, you walk here mechanically. I walk mechanically and reach the lake. So, repeating God's name, He really gives you real joy. In fact, we are moving mechanically in the world, I should say. But people are not aware of that. So the nectar that flowed from Sri Ramakrishna's lips was divine wisdom, undefiled. There was not the least tinge of egoity in his utterances, even as in the case of the rishis, through whom the Shrutis have been transmitted to us. Even in the littlest thing, his subservience to the divine will was total. When Thotapuri, the master of Advaita, when he offered to initiate Sri Ramakrishna into Advaitic sadhana, what did Sri Ramakrishna say? He said to him, well, give me some time. I will go and seek mother's permission. I need mother's permission. That means, he means mother's grace. Without grace, what can you do? You can do nothing, I tell you. Grace is very important and it works very well in all our spiritual matters. And Sri Ramakrishna valued it very much. The Nirvikalp Samadhi, to which the Thotapuri invited him, is the summit of spiritual experience. But to accept even that gift, Sri Ramakrishna abided by the mother's will. Let mother's will prevail. Let mother's will prevail. If mother wants, I will have it. If she doesn't want, I will not have it. So, that was the way Sri Ramakrishna has asked us to practice spirituality. Again, when he was attacked by fatal cancer, he told his anxious disciples that it was for the mother to decide whether to recover or not. That means Sri Ramakrishna was least concerned about it. Let mother take care of it. And we know how, when the disciples implored him to pray to the mother for recovery, Sri Ramakrishna pointed out to them that having given up his mind to the mother unconditionally, there is no question of taking it back to frame a selfish petition. Why should I have to use the mind for that purpose? Once the mind is given, why should I take it back again? That's the point. So you must prepare yourself, prepare properly how to offer your mind, how to offer your intellect to God. Once, young Yogen, who later blossomed into the great Swami Yogananda, he once requested Sri Ramakrishna to teach him a way to overcome lust. It's a very important question. It bothers all the people, particularly those who want to live spiritual life. And what did Sri Ramakrishna suggest? He asked him. He gave him a very, very, very simple solution. He asked him to practice repeating the name of the Lord. He told him, you repeat this name of God. The hypercritical yogin, he felt that this was a simplistic solution to a very deep-rooted problem. Is it ever possible to overcome lust by just repeating the name of God? But Sri Ramakrishna is telling, do it. Do it. Then, because he was an earnest aspirant, Yogin gave it a sincere trial. Well, my masters told me to repeat God's name. Let me give a trial. Why not? Let me see whether it works or not. So he took it as a challenge. And to his surprise, he found in a matter of days, he found his mind was completely devoid of carnal desires and promptings. Because he was very sincere. That sincerity is important. And when he was constantly repeating God's name, he could overcome the botheration of lust. That could be done because of the grace of God. Grace of God. Yogin understood the secret behind this incredible magic. When the mind is given over to repeated japa, to constant remembrance of the Lord, it is filled with His grace. Lord Krishna also says in the Bhagavad Gita, Mam Anusmara. Constantly remember me. When Rama is there, there can be no kama. That means there can be no desire. There can be no passion. Once the mind has tasted the sweetness of His living presence, its fascination for the sensuous pleasures vanishes. Even as when a match is struck, the darkness of ages disappears in a trice. We have seen how Lord Krishna underlines this fact when he points out Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehinaha rasavarjam rasopyasya parandrishtva nivartate. To a man who abstains rigorously from indulging in sensuous pleasures, the sense objects maybe no longer pose a problem, but the taste for the pleasures will still remain, like a seed that can sprout again when circumstances become favorable. You can't say, I've totally conquered my lust. You can't say that. Never say that. This latent taste also can disappear only when the Supreme is cognized. In the fire of the divine presence, the seed gets roasted and loses its capacity to germinate. There is no other way for the total eradication of hankering. There is a famous story of a saint, a very great saint. He was practicing meditation, intense meditation, under the water. He had tremendous concentration And he was very determined in the spiritual path, so he was doing it with strong determination. He was just practicing meditation. One day it so happened, when he was just awake when he came down from the state of meditation, just he happened to see the fishes playing in the water. That provoked him. As I said, somewhere in the corner of the mind, that desire of enjoyment was still there. But now it got the opportunity, because the sage is seeing the playing of the fishes in the water, and it excited him. It excited him so much, he got up from the river, went to the king, approached the king. Well, I desire to live a householder life. I want to marry your daughters. He's directly asking the king. And the king was shocked, because the sage is already old and his daughters are young. How this man would be able to give happiness to the daughters? And at the same time he was very afraid also, because the sage may curse him if he doesn't agree to what the sage wanted. So he thought of a plan. Well, you please approach, my daughters are there. You go and approach them. If they want, let them marry you. It is left to them. I don't have to say anything. Let them choose. If they want, you go. And the king thought they may reject him, because he was old, like that. But the sage was not foolish enough. He had developed a tremendous spiritual power, what is called occult power. It comes automatically when you are doing practices, concentration, meditation, they do come. So when Vishwamitra taught Astra Shastra Vidya to Sri Ramachandra, the boys, Rama and Lakshman, and they were so pure-hearted, and they learnt archery very well. All the devatas, the gods and goddesses of the Astras, they stood before him. Well, we are ready to serve you. Give orders. We are ready to do whatever you want us to do. Then Sri Rama said, well, wait. If I want, I will call you. Till then, you be somewhere. So, they do come. That's also a challenge. If you heed attention, if you turn yourself towards those powers, you get lost again. You must reject them and go forward in your spiritual journey. So, here, this sage, because he had that power, by his power he became very handsome, most beautiful looking person. Young man, full of energy, dynamism, most beautiful to look. So when he approached his daughter's king, the king had many daughters. He approached each one of them. And everyone liked him. Where to find such a beautiful, handsome person like him? And king had no alternative. He had to marry all those girls to him. And he married. Not only that, he married and he took them. He went to a certain place. He created palaces for them, for each of the girl whom he married. And he lived with them most happily. He assumed many forms, and he would give happiness to everyone, and that continued for some years. And the king also wanted to see how his daughters were doing. He visited them also. And he was surprised to see all of them are happy, etc. But then finally he became aware, what I am doing? What a wretched life I am following now? What happened to my meditation? What happened to my spiritual pursuit, etc. Suddenly the dispassion came to him. Vairagya. Immediately he renounced everything and he went to the forest in order to continue austerities more rigorously than before. So, what I mean to say is, it will be always there. You can't say you have overcome it. But if you aspire for God, if you see God, then that seed will be roasted up. It cannot sprout again. So, Lord Krishna says, concluding the 3rd chapter of the Gita, Evam buddhehe param buddhva samstabhyatmanam atmana jahishatrum mahabaho kamarupam durasanam. Realize the one supreme over the intellect and gain control over thyself. Thus can you conquer that most formidable foe called Kama. Let us then incessantly pray for God's grace, which alone can wipe away the last traces of the temptation of lust and gold from our minds, and then only it will be possible to experience limitless bliss. So, mind and intellect must be, at the first stage, must be cleaned properly, and then they must be turned towards God. Sri Ramakrishna gives the example, the magnet and the iron filings, though they are very near, the iron filings are not attracted towards the magnet because they are covered by mud. If the mud is cleared off, immediately they are attracted by the magnet. In the same way, when the mind is cleared off of all the desires, immediately it is drawn towards God and you feel real freedom and you feel real joy. Page 650. Master said, once I visited Devendranath Tagore with Mathur Babu. I said to Mathur, I have heard that Devendra Tagore thinks of God. I should like to see him. All right, said Mathur, I will take you to him. We were fellow students in the Hindu college and I am very friendly with him. We went to Devendra's house. Mathur and Devendra had not seen each other for a long time. Devendra said to Mathur, you have changed a little. You have grown a fat around the stomach. Mathur said, referring to me, referring to Sri Ramakrishna, he has come to see you. He is always mad about God. I wanted to see Devendra's physical marks and said to him, let me see your body. He pulled up his shirt and I found that he had very fair skin, tinted red. His hair had not yet turned grey. At the outset I noticed a little vanity in Devendra. And isn't that natural? He had such wealth, such scholarship, such name and fame. Noticing that streak of vanity, I asked Mathur, well, is vanity the outcome of knowledge or ignorance? Can a knower of Brahman have such a feeling as, I am a scholar, I am a jnani, I am rich? While I was talking to Devendra, I suddenly got into that state of mind in which I can see a man as he really is. I was convulsed with laughter inside. In that state, I regard scholars and the book learned as mere straw. If I see that a scholar has no discrimination and renunciation, I regard him as worthless straw. I see that he is like a vulture which soars high but fixes its look on a charnel pit down below. I found that Devendra had combined both yoga and bhoga in his life. He had a number of children, all young. The family physician was there. Thus you see, though he was a jnani, yet he was preoccupied with worldly life. I said to him, "You are the king Janaka of this Kali Yuga." Holding to one as well as the other, he drank his milk from a brimming cup. "I have heard that you live in the world and think of God, so I have come to see you. Please tell me something about God." He recites some texts from the Vedas. He said, this universe is like a chandelier, and each living being is a light in it. Once, meditating in the Panchavati, I too had a vision like that. I found his words agreed with my vision, and I thought he must be a very great man. I asked him to explain his words. He said, "God has created men to manifest his own glory. Otherwise, who could know this universe? Everything becomes dark without the lights in the chandelier. One cannot even see the chandelier itself." We talked a long time. Devendra was pleased and said to me, "You must come to our Brahma Samaj festival." "That," I said, "depends on the will of God. You can see the state of my mind. There is no knowing when God will put me into a particular state." Devendra insisted, "No, you must come. But put on your cloth and wear a shawl over your body. Someone might say something unkind about your untidiness, and that would hurt me." "No," I replied, "I can't promise that. I can't be a babu." Devendra and Madhur laughed. We shall stop here. Any questions you are welcome to ask. Babu. I'm not a babu means a person who is carefree and who is full of proud and vanity and possesses a lot of wealth, etc. Who is rajasic, who is of rajasic temperament, who wants everything to be done in a precise way according to. He's full of showing up nature. He wants to show himself good to others. He must have a clean shave, he must have clean ironed dress, he must have polished shoe, etc. And Sri Ramakrishna said, I'm not a babu like that. So he said, I'm simple. Yes, any question? Any comments or observation? Or because the bad samskars are very strong. Though they know it, they cannot resist it because the resisting power is very weak. That shows the weakness. They have to overcome that weakness. You have to build up strong parallel impressions. That's why Swamiji says, formate your character before thinking of spirituality. You must set a format. You must come under that format. Then you will be successful. So, people know we have to tell the truth, but people always tell lies. In fact, in our Vedas, in our Hindu tradition, the very beginning of life, they say you must follow these three principles, the basic principles. One is Satyam Vada, tell the truth. Dharmanchara, follow the righteousness. Swadhyaya pravachanabhyam na pramaditavyam, never stop studying spiritual text. Never stop studying spiritual text. So these three basic principles must be followed every day. So every day you must be aware. When you open your mouth, you must be aware of what you are talking about. So that means you have to build up your life in that way. If you are aware of things, then committing of sins will be lessened. Slowly we can reduce it, and finally it goes away. Because the past impressions are so strong, they just, by impulse, you do certain actions by impulse. It forces you to do. See, for example, a thief, even though he is undergoing prison, if he is released, again he commits robbery. He knows he will be put in prison, he has to suffer there, he knows everything, he knows it, he doesn't want to do it. But he's forced to commit certain things. He's forced literally. That means how strong it is. It has become automatic. So when the impressions become strong, they become so strong, they overrule you. That's why you must see always, make the good impressions more strong, then they become automatic. Then they will take care of all the other things. So our attention should be positive. Let me do this way, let me go this way. Every day, think yourself properly and do properly. Then that's the way to build up the life. You have to build up your life, you have to purify the mind. That's what I told. Vacuuming the mind is important. Vacuuming. A lot of dust has accumulated over the period of time. It has to be taken out totally. That's it. There is no other way. Now, if you have to mechanical, it looks mechanical, but then if you keep doing it, then it gives the result. That's what Sri Ramakrishna said. You repeat this mantra. Just have faith in the words of the Master and do it. Don't question anymore. Simply do it. Mechanically, all right, mechanically do it. Holy Mother said, 10,000 times you must do japa. Have you done? So do it first, even though it's mechanical. But what happens by constantly doing, constantly doing, that makes the impression so strong, and afterwards it becomes automatic. I give one example. I have told you this example also previously. Just because you asked that question, I am again telling. In Bangalore, there was a devotee who would every day recite Bhagavad Gita. Every day chapter he would do. A very devoted person he was. In an orthodox way, he would wear a red silk cloth, and then he would sit, and then he would do recitation. That was the way he was doing. Once he fell sick, high fever, 103. He lost outer consciousness and the fever persisted. He was in a state of coma, as it were. He was not aware of outside things, and people got frightened, in the family people. They thought he may die, because they called the doctor, everybody came, all the friends and family relations all came. They informed us also. They were near to ashrama. All are gathering. Surprisingly, they are all seeing the man is repeating Bhagavad Gita shlokas. He is not aware of it. He is simply doing, he is repeating. They could not believe it, and what is this surprise? How can he do it? He is not conscious of that. Afterwards, After some time, his fever got down, he recovered, he did not die. Then somebody asked, do you know you're repeating Bhagavad Gita? No, I don't know. That is called automatic. See, when you do constantly, intensely, if you do it, it works in its own way and it helps you later on. In fact, in our boyhood days, I still remember in our boyhood days, what they would do, they would teach Amar Kosh. Amar Kosha is nothing but Sanskrit dictionary. But they have done in such a way, a great poet, he has composed all the Sanskrit words in a poetic form, like a poem. And as a kids, the parents would teach, come on, unimaginable. And that is the time when you must put all these ideas into the mind. Once it is done, then when you reach an age of 10 or 12 years, these become automatic. Even though you don't have to struggle, all these words will come to you on the surface of the mind, and immediately if somebody says something, you can say, oh, no, this is a word. This is a word in Amar Kosha. You will chant it. That's the beauty. So, to create the samskaras, these things are required. It looks mechanical, but repeatedly, constantly doing, it becomes alive and it helps you later on. That's the idea. It purifies automatically. Automatically. You see, there is a purpose. It purifies, after purification only it becomes automatic. If it is not automatic, that means your mind is still to be purified. Say, you sit for meditation for 10 minutes. In that 10 minutes, how many times mind runs away? You don't want the mind to run, but it runs. That means you have to forcefully, by some method, you have to see consciously, no, I must think this. So even though the mind runs, you be aware of one concentrated thought, and then even though the mind distracts, it comes back again. Slowly, then it becomes under your control. So that's the idea. It purifies. It has got double purpose. It purifies and then takes you towards God. That's true. Any more question? No. Well, let us see. See, what is needed is, you must be clear about your pursuit. Do you really want spiritual life? That's important. If you really want, then you have to develop a taste for it. In order to develop a taste for spiritual life, you must follow certain things, singing God's glories, doing bhajans and reading books and associate with holy people. In so many ways, you must associate in activities in such a way your mind is drawn towards God. That's important. Very good, thank you. Chant the name of the Lord and His glory unceasingly, that the mirror of the heart may be wiped clean and quench that mighty forest fire, worldly lust raging furiously within. O name stream down in moonlight on the lotus heart, opening its cup to knowledge of thyself. O self, drown deep in the waves of his bliss, tasting his nectar at every step, bathing in his name that bath for weary souls. Various are thy names, O Lord, in each and every name thy power resides. No times are set, no rites are needful for chanting of thy name. So vast is thy mercy, how huge then is my wretchedness, who find in this empty life and heart no devotion to thy name. O my mind, be humbler than a blade of grass. Be patient and forbearing like a tree. Take no honor to thyself, give honor to all. Chant unceasingly the name of the Lord. O Lord and soul of the universe, mine is no prayer for wealth or retinue, the playthings of lust or the toys of fame, as many times as I may be reborn, grant me, O Lord, a steadfast love for Thee. A drowning man in this world's fearful ocean is Thy servant, O sweet one. In Thy mercy, consider him as dust beneath Thy feet. Ah, how I long for the day when an instant separation from Thee, O Lord, will be as 1,000 years, when my heart burns away with its desire, and the world without Thee is a heartless void. Prostrated at Thy feet let me be in unwavering devotion, neither imploring the embrace of Thine arms, nor bewailing the withdrawal of Thy presence, though it tears my soul asunder. O Thou who stealest the hearts of Thy devotees, do with me what Thou wilt, for Thou art my heart's beloved, Thou and Thou alone. O Lord, lead us from the unreal to the real, lead us from darkness to light, and lead us from death to immortality. May all be free from dangers, may all realize what is good, may all be actuated by noble thoughts, may all rejoice everywhere. May all be happy, may all be free from disease, may all realize what is good, may none be subject to misery. May the wicked become virtuous, may the virtuous attain tranquility, may the tranquil be free from bonds, may the freed make others free. May good betide all people, may the sovereign righteously rule the earth, may all beings ever attain what is good, may the worlds be prosperous and happy, may the clouds pour rain in time, may the earth be blessed with crops, may all countries be freed from calamity, may holy men live without fear. May the Lord, the destroyer of sins, the presiding deity of all sacred works, be satisfied. For He being pleased, the whole universe becomes pleased. He being satisfied, the whole universe feels satisfied.